Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, there's drama out of Los Angeles about LeBron's role in the Lakers sale. What does this mean about his future in LA? Meanwhile, Morant and Jonathan Kuminga are the names that we keep talking about ahead of the trade deadline, but there may not be a market for either one of them.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in, on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app, see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today we are talking about the Lakers Palace intrigue, the latest on Morant, and why the Warriors are admitting that there's no market for Jonathan Kuminga. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast, senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
Great game between the Rockets and Spurs last night. Really enjoyed that. I have some takes on Victor Wembanyama that I have to get off at some point this week. My funniest thing about that game, though, is the ongoing war between Ime Udoka, who clearly hates playing Reed Shepherd, and how good the Rockets are with Reed Shepherd. It is one of my favorite subplots that is going to result in so many Rockets fan meltdowns in the playoffs when Ime benches him. It's going to be great.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report, it's Haize.
And the King of Petty. Make sure that's the most important title. Forget Bleacher Report. It's the King of Petty is the most important title. No, but I'm excited to talk some basketball with my guys today, man.
Well, there's a bunch to get to today, and one thing that I was not expecting to talk about today was the Lakers, funny enough. But in a deeply reported piece for ESPN that came out this morning, Baxter Holmes wrote that the drama of the Buss family, about the drama of the Buss family and the eventual sale of the Lakers, there's a ton to get into with this piece, but I think for our purposes, the stuff about LeBron, probably the most important for us. The article outlined how Jeanie Buss began to turn on LeBron James. Here's a quote from the piece. Jeanie privately grumbled, people close to the team say, about what she felt was James's outsized ego and the overt control that he and Klutch Sports, which represents both James and Anthony Davis, exerted over the organization at times, end quote. Matt, like I said, a ton to get to here, but what was your biggest takeaway from the piece and what it says about LeBron's tenure with the Lakers so far?
If you've been listening to the show, I've been talking about this for 2 years about how much tension there's been. Like, this has been the worst kept secret, is the tension between Klutch Sports. And I think it's really interesting how this piece was framed, because it makes it seem like it's a personal thing between LeBron and the Lakers and Jeanie Buss in particular, versus this is not a LeBron one-on-one thing. This is a Klutch thing. This is a very much a Klutch thing, because Klutch was pushing consistently for changes to the front office. And they wanted specifically guys that were Klutch people. We have reporting on this. This is not me making this up. Go look back and see who the Lakers were consistently linked to. And they're always Klutch clients. They brought in Cam Reddish. Why? He's a Klutch guy. This has consistently been a thing with Klutch Sports. But the big lesson here, I think, is one, it should be noted how much the Lakers screwed up the final chapter of LeBron's career. They won a title, great. With how good he's been, should they have only won one? Should they have been this much of a mess? Should they have missed the playoffs at one point? Should they have been a first round out? And yet, on some level, they thought they were above this. They really, and this is the whole thing, is the Lakers believe they are exceptional, and the league treats them as such. And so you wind up with these kind of things where LeBron believes he's exceptional, and the Lakers believe that they're exceptional, and this butts heads. It's really a shame that he decided that the money and living in LA was so important, because the best way for this to have ended was this summer for him to have walked. And we could have had such a more interesting end to the last year of him still being relevant rather than what we got.
Well, I mean, Matt, I get it, and I'm not saying you're wrong, right? The Lakers have made some very bad decisions over the course of LeBron's tenure there. But if you're telling me that Rich Paul and LeBron had so much power in that, do they not deserve some of the criticism of that too? If they brought in all these Klutch guys, there's some part of the tension that also falls on LeBron and Rich Paul. And I think you're seeing a similar thing even in Dallas. Rich Paul has had this such control around just the NBA, not just the Lakers, but around the NBA. And I think we're starting to see teams fight back against that. You hear the Mavs saying that, like, hey, we move Anthony Davis, you're going to do so because we want to, not because you're trying to push us to get it done. And that's just eventually how things ebb and flow in the NBA. The same thing with the player empowerment movement. Eventually, teams fought back against players being as empowered and dictating so much that they did. So I get it. Not to say that the Lakers, the decision that they made was great, because it wasn't. But I think LeBron and Rich Paul deserve some of the criticism of that too. As far as the drama going on in the Lakers, that drama, NBA teams, billionaires, doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Read the piece. There's some really interesting stuff in there, just from a historical perspective. Also, it has some hilarious quotes like what really mattered to Dr. Jerry Buss was family. Go look at some photos from the 80s and 90s with Jerry Buss and tell me that family was the most important thing to that man.
By Dom Toretto now is Fast and Furious. Family. It's about family.
Family. But by the way, fun trivia fact. Guess who brought Donald Sterling into the NBA? Dr. Jerry Buss. He's wise in there.
Matt's coming for that King of Petty title there.
You can give it to him today. That one was great.
To Haize's point, though, before, I mean, in this piece, again, the Russell Westbrook trade is brought up. If there's a fork in the road of when it was going well for the Lakers and then when it was going poorly for the Lakers, it was the Westbrook trade, probably. Matt, you disagree?
Go back. So here's what happens. They win the title,
and
then they retool, and they bring in Marc Gasol. And the first couple months of that, right? It's after the bubble, COVID's going on, everything is chaotic. But the first, when they were healthy to start that year, it was like, holy crap, they might be better. Like, they were bigger, stronger, more well-rounded. That team was actually really good. But do you know what happened? Mark gets sick with COVID and misses a long time with it. And in the meantime, because Anthony Davis never wants to play center because he gets boo-boos, they push the Lakers to bring in somebody. And who do they bring in? Anthony Davis's really good friend, Andre Drummond, who takes Marc Gasol's spot in the rotation. And everything spirals from there. In part, I think, because Rob Pelinka is like, I built a really good team. And you're not going to find me praising Rob Pelinka very much. I think he's mostly an empty suit. But he brought in a really good team, and the Lakers just pushed and pushed, and the Klutch just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And that's where it started to go sideways. And then the Russ thing happens. So it starts before that. But I think you're right that the fork of the road is clearly Russ, who LeBron, Jeannie's right. LeBron wanted it and never took responsibility for it. But they also scapegoated Russ in that situation.
And with the Klutch part of this too, it's interesting now to see, since the Luka Doncic trade, to see how this power struggle has turned out, because now Luka Doncic is represented by Bill Duffy. Another Bill Duffy client is DeAndre Ayton. He gets signed by the Lakers. And now you see kind of Rich Paul and that group kind of getting pushed out. And I think there are real questions, Haize, about LeBron's future now in Los Angeles. Because on one hand, you could say, look, the Buss family mostly out, even though Jeannie Buss is still the governor or whatever they call it now in the NBA. She's still obviously involved, but doesn't have all this ownership. And if there was something between the Buss family and LeBron, maybe that doesn't matter as much. On the other hand, if we are transitioning away from a Klutch-influenced organization and more towards a Luka Doncic organization, maybe this is the end for LeBron in Los Angeles, if this is not obviously the last year of his career. Haize, how do you see this playing out? Do you think that the way all this played out either increases or decreases LeBron's chances of retiring as a Laker?
Man, that's a great question. If LeBron plays beyond this year, I don't think it's in the Lakers uniform. I really don't. And I may be crazy for that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do think that as this team is transitioned, like you said, building more around Luka, I just don't see them bringing LeBron back. And I think that's probably the right choice. You need to continue to retool this roster around Luka Doncic. Not to say that LeBron and Luka haven't figured out how to fit, but I think as you look at the pieces that you need around Luka to really be a championship contender, I do think LeBron's going to get phased out here. And if he wants to continue playing, he may just move down a little bit downtown and go to the Clippers and just make that team even older than what they are.
By the way, fun note in there that Jeannie actually considered trading LeBron to the Clippers. That was a fun one. So looking ahead a little bit, Max Strus has a $16 million expiring contract as of this summer. Lonzo Ball comes off the books non-guaranteed at $10 million. They've hated the experience there. Dean Wade comes off the books. They don't have a lot of cap room. So they're going to have to clear more because they're an over the apron team. So we'll see what the Cavaliers do at the deadline. I do not foresee him taking a minimum, but I will tell you that I feel pretty confident LeBron James is going to spend his final year with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Zuri's going to be 12 years old, and it's only 1 year. I think that's a lot of this. Is it's one thing when it's you don't want to be away from your family for 2-3 years, but if it's I'm going to be gone for 9 months and then I'll be home. And I think that, and she's got private tutors and whatever. They've got a house in Cleveland. She can just hang out there if they want to be closer. If Savannah wants to come back 1 more year, bring it back home to Ohio, finish it where it started. LeBron finishes with the Cavaliers next year.
Haize, what do you think about that?
I love that. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Shout out to George Lucas.
We were imagine the Nike billboard outside of the arena in Rocket Mortgage, I think, is in Cleveland, whatever it is now. We were all witnesses, right? with the hands outstretched. I could just see it.
Ja Morant and Jonathan Kuminga are the names that we keep talking about ahead of the trade deadline, but there might not be a market for either one of them. We'll talk about it after this.
Why?
Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during happy hour always brings something new. Boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly specials before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing's perfect. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's talk a little bit more about Ja Morant. He returned to the court over the weekend. He's now playing again for the Memphis Grizzlies after it was reported that they're willing to listen to trade calls for him. And while no team has emerged as a clear suitor for Morant, over at Locked On Grizzlies, they're talking about how these games could serve as a kind of audition.
Situation when you talk about the disconnect here in the Ja Morant situation, I think what you're referring to is kind of like what we're seeing more from the national side is the conversation about the lack of market there is for Ja Morant. And I think locally, if you talked about what me and Chris Harrington kind of both talked about, was the fact that even after, as promising as that game was that Ja had, nothing's changed. The feeling is still the same at this point in terms of, the Grizzlies are listening and they are, at some point probably wanting to move Ja Morant before the trade deadline. Like that is still, ever since the initial reports on January the 9th, nothing has changed given that one game, given as good as Ja played in that game. Nothing has changed. To my understanding, it's not something where they're just going to slap on some, expiring contracts and say, here's Ja Morant for you. You go get a guy who just scored 24 points and had 13 assists for us. So you just throw us some matching salaries. No, this is not that type of situation. They want assets. With Ja being on the floor, it's almost, kind of going to be like an audition.
Haize, obviously there's no team that's out there that really wants Ja Morant, because if they did, they'd already have Ja Morant, I guess, based on some of the reporting that's been around Memphis. But what do you make of the idea of an audition for Ja Morant? And do you think that if he plays really well like he did in London over the weekend, is that something that could potentially juice the trade market a little bit for him?
I mean, yeah, it's always a chance of it. I mean, seeing a player play well, that should drum up more interest. I think you still worry about the contract. You still worry about the decline, the bad shooting, all that type of stuff. But it can help you being hot going into a trade deadline for teams that are just looking around. I know there are teams that are waiting on Giannis and stuff. But if you see a Ja Morant that's playing red hot and you think that you're looking for an acquisition to help get you over the hump, especially like in the East to create a little bit more separation if the teams are out there, why not?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, though. If he plays really well, why are they going to trade him? I guarantee you, if he plays well, the Memphis is going to be like, well, can't trade him now. He's too good. This is the problem. I don't know what Memphis is doing. People around the league don't know what Memphis is doing. Everybody's like, what are you doing? because like they made a big talk this summer about wanting to fix that relationship, and then they brought in a coach that alienated him immediately. Okay, cool. I don't think anybody's happy. I think the Grizzlies are probably tired of all the stuff that comes with Ja. I think that they're tired of Ja missing games, but you cannot do this both ways where it's like, you can't propose, hey, here's a guy that's like super injured and oftentimes doesn't play, and his numbers have been going down year over year over year, and he's getting worse. But also like we want assets for it. That's why I'm not sure he gets traded, because I just think that if I trust DeMichael Cole, like implicitly, he's such a good reporter. Like Locked On Grizzlies is so good, and Cole's a big reason for it. If he says that they're like, no, we're not giving him away, we're going to have to take assets, they're not going to be able to move him. Nobody's going to give up assets for Ja. Nobody. Nico Harrison might have, because Nico Harrison likes guys that don't play, but Nico Harrison doesn't have a job right now. And there's nobody out there. Yeah, I'm coming for your petty title today. There's nobody out there that is like so desperate for Ja Morant that they're like, oh yeah, this is going to fix it. Like the Bucks are not desperate enough and don't like, they have assets, right? That one might be it. Ryan Rollins, a first round pick and some salary dump with Kuzma. Okay. You get Ryan Rollins and a first round pick. Okay, cool. That's like, you can stomach that. But if they want any sort of serious package, it's not going to happen. And the better the job plays, the less likely it is that he gets traded, because the Grizzlies will talk themselves back into it, despite how much they've set him up to fail.
So what you're saying is that if a team really wants Ja right now, they should hire Nico Harrison.
Yes.
Like for like on like a 7-day contract.
Yeah. Like if you really want Ja, right, you know, I don't really agree with what Wes said that they really want him, they'd have him right now. I don't think that's true. I think that it's like, how much do you want him, right? Are you going to trade like a key component for him? You know, I do think that I wish these teams would that everyone's trying to leverage each other, and it just turns into these contests where you don't want to look bad and it's stupid. There's so many teams that just have problems they need to solve right now. We're going to talk about the Warriors again. The Warriors, the Kings, the Knicks with Karl-Anthony Towns we talked about yesterday, the Grizzlies. Find a 3-way trade and get this figured out. I don't think that Ja Morant to New York works, but Ja Morant to somewhere else and Cat to somewhere else. Like, get creative, people. Get on the phone.
I think the problem with this idea of Ja Morant auditioning in order to increase his value and for the Grizzlies to try to actually extract something from a Ja Morant trade now, the question has never been whether or not Ja Morant is any good at basketball. When he's out there, he's awesome. He's always been awesome. Maybe he's not as awesome this season as he usually is, but generally speaking, we know what Ja Morant can do when he's on the court. The problem is he's off the court so much. And so it's nice that he can put up 23 points and 13 assists every once in a while, but can he stay on the court? The guy's only played 19 games so far this season. That to me that's the biggest difference between like a Ja Morant deal and a Trae Young deal. Is with Trae Young, the Hawks were like, hey, we're actually better without Trae Young. I don't think the Grizzlies could sit here and say we're better without Ja Morant. They might just want to remove themselves from the Ja Morant situation.
Well, I mean, they think so because they'll be like, well, when we have Zach Edey. So I do think one thing that's notable here, Wes, it's not the game versus unavailable thing. It's the recent performance crossed with the unavailable, crossed with the off-court stuff.
Right.
You can't put Ja and T in somewhere where they're going to run over the organization. Like you have to have a strong organization that's going to be able to be like, that's going to be able to give them enough so that he doesn't like cause problems, right? That's not a tension point, that you can work together and that he feels respected, but also doesn't let things run wild. You have to balance that. And that's really hard to find. Trae Young, people have a hard time playing with Trae Young because of his play style. Nobody has a problem with Trae Young off the court. Good dude, total professional. Has done nothing but the right thing. Like you talk to John Collins is still like, I love Trae. John Collins, like, I think his career got derailed because of Trae. He got banished to Utah, right? Still loves Trae Young. Everybody likes Trae Young off the court. Doesn't cause problems. Doesn't cause distractions. Total pro. And I think that differential is really important here.
The other part of this too is that Ja Morant has 2 more years on his contract. So Haize, to Matt's point there, like if the Grizzlies don't want to trade, they don't have to trade him. He's got 2 more years left on the contract. They can potentially wait to do this if they're interested in staying with Ja, or if that trade isn't out there. Would it be a worst case scenario if Ja Morant is still in Memphis past the trade deadline?
I mean, if they just really want to be out of the Ja Morant business where they feel like he's doing something detrimental, then maybe not. But I mean, as far as just from the basketball standpoint, no, I don't think John Morant's value can get any lower. So I mean, if you want to play this out and say, hey, let's see how he plays from now until the end of the season, we can revisit it in the offseason or next year at the trade deadline. I mean, there's a chance that the value does go up by then. Teams will become more desperate. Giannis may be moved by then. There's a lot of things that could go in the favor to where it can make sense.
Don't dare him. Don't do that. Don't be like, I can't think his value can get any worse. Don't make him say don't make him say hold my automatic. Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Speaking of value not getting any worse, we're gonna talk about Jonathan Kuminga again, but hey, at least we didn't do it in the first segment. We're going to save it for the third segment. Plus,
can we talk about All-Star instead? Can we do that?
I'd rather talk about next year's in-season tournament.
One of those topics coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades that you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everybody sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or your computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. So make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's Quo, QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, the Jonathan Kuminga stuff, because I do agree with you guys that I am so sick of talking about this. Is the worst player to ever demand a trade. He doesn't play for the Warriors. Warriors fans have a problem with it. Well, I don't really. Kaminga doesn't fit there. He's not been good for them. But we have to talk about it because this quote from Mike Dunleavy Jr. to reporters last night was just so crazy. On the heels of Jimmy Butler's season-ending ACL injury, Mike Dunleavy Jr. met with reporters, and he was asked whether the team would look to trade Jonathan Kuminga to try to upgrade the roster before the trade deadline. Dunleavy responded by saying, quote, "As far as the demand, I'm aware of that. In terms of demands, when there's a demand, there needs to be a demand on the market." So we'll see how that unfolds. Here's more from that on Locked On Warriors.
You need Jonathan Kuminga tonight. Any moron off the street could have told you that. You play him 4.5 minutes in the first half while you fall down into a pit that you can't recover from, and then you leave him on the bench in the third quarter again till you're down 30. And then there are going to be these Steve Kerr stands saying, well, see, Kaminga turned it over when they finally got close after he's been on the floor for 15 straight minutes. It's a travesty, man. And I love Steve Kerr. I don't understand why this is happening. There's no reasonable explanation for it.
It's unhealthy discourse. It's been an unhealthy relationship for a while. And then Dunleavy, before the game, says that when they basically said, Kaminga's demanded a trade and he's looking elsewhere, and basically demand goes both ways, and he's got to have demand on the trade market, insinuating that nobody wants him. And it's just a strange situation. Like,
Haize, are you surprised that we got to the point where you've got the GM of the team saying that there's no market for the player who has demanded a trade?
Real quick, hold on. I just want to make sure my fiance isn't around. I could demand Rihanna, and it's a less wild demand request than Jonathan Kuminga demanding a trade. Shut up. Yes, I'm like what he did was. I love that Mike Dunleavy said what he said, because there does have to be a demand on the market. The only team the team that showed the most interest for Jonathan Kuminga this offseason was the Sacramento Kings. That's probably going to be the team that has the most interest in him leading into this trade deadline. Go ahead and do what I predicted about 6 months ago. Go ahead and trade Jonathan Kuminga for DeMar DeRozan, add him to the Wild Hog season of the Golden State Warriors, and just have fun with it. But, somebody needed to say it, because I feel like, why do we have to talk about Jonathan Kuminga so much? Why? This is ridiculous.
I think, okay, he's a former top 10 pick who has had games. Like, here's the thing. I don't think Kuminga's a bad player. I really don't. I don't think he sucks. I really don't. I don't think he's like, I'm trying to think of the he's not Anthony Bennett. He's not I'm trying to think of even like top picks that were like just fine. He's not even like, he's okay. Like, he's pretty good. He's got games where he's pretty good. What I don't understand is, okay, I get Kerr. I actually back Kerr in this, where I'm just like, you can't play Steph basketball with Jonathan Kuminga. It doesn't work. He's an up-down, north-south player. Kerr's system that he has won 4 titles with is an east-west system. It doesn't work. You cannot make that go. You're at a point now where you're so desperate you need to play him. So I do think he should be playing now without Jimmy. What I don't understand is, how do you not, if you're going to make the decision to retain him this summer and you're going to turn down, because like we have reported offers, the Warriors are going to say, no, that's not true. We never got that offer. I don't believe them. I'm sorry. I don't. I think the Kings would have offered you, I forget what the offer was, but it was like something in a first. That's better than your current situation.
Malik Monk, I think, was part of it.
Malik Monk, and they don't want Monk. Zach Lowe said this yesterday, that they never wanted Malik Monk. Why? Like, why is Malik Monk worse than a player your coach won't play? I don't mind there being, I actually respect the Warriors for being like, Steve Kerr gets to decide his rotations. We're not gonna interfere. He gets to decide those things. Okay, but if Jonathan Kuminga has proven for 3 years that Kerr doesn't trust him, and you're gonna keep Kerr, you have to make this kind of change in this situation. I actually like the fact that Dunleavy is like, what this feels like to me is that ownership believes in Kaminga, loves Kaminga, gave him the money, wanted to retain him, wanted to trade him for something, and the rest of the organization is like, Mr. Lacob, there is no value. No one wants him, and we don't want him. And this stubbornness is what continues to create this situation. I think Jonathan's probably going to have a good career when he gets out of the Warriors. It's not his fault. It's not Kerr's fault. It's ownership's fault for meddling.
To your point, he was a free agent this summer. They did not have to re-sign him, and yet they brought him back, and here we go. Last thing here for today's show. Last night, the Rockets managed to bother Victor Wembanyama, who was held to just 5 for 21 shooting from the field, 0 for 7 from three-point range in Houston's win over the Spurs. And Kevin Durant, who guarded Victor Wembanyama for most of the night after the game, was asked about defending him. Here's what he said, quote, "He's still working on his jump shot. He's more dangerous when he gets layups and dunks and plays around the rim. That's more his game than floating around the perimeter shooting threes or jump shots. When they go in, it looks amazing, but when you get a hand up, there was some bad misses. We were able to get out and run," end quote. Matt, I know that you wanted to talk about this specifically. What did you think about Durant's comments about Victor Wembanyama? And then is this something that the Spurs need to figure out?
I thought the comments were really interesting from KD. When you kind of watch him, like I went back and watched all of Wembanyama's misses, and it's, somebody was commenting to me, they're like, well, the Rockets shut him down. And I was like, no, because he got 21 shots up. You shut somebody down, you don't let them shoot. Like, that's how you shut somebody down in the NBA, is you deny them the opportunities where they have to go elsewhere. Victor chose bad options. He's fading away. Like, Alperen Şengün is a sneaky, actually pretty physical guy. He gets up under you, and he did a lot of really good stuff there in that type of situation. Victor is still not the player that we kind of envision him as. When he's dominant, like, I agree, like, it looks insane. He does all these things we can't believe. He had a dunk on Clint Capella last night that I was like, that's ridiculous. Clint's so big, and he's so small next to Victor. Victor just bullied him. But the rest of the time, the other guys, and Şengün actually guarded him the most on these shot attempts, Victor just settles. And I don't know what to do here, Haize, and I want your thoughts on this. This is a jump shooting league now. If you go look at the best offenses, they're teams that take a lot of jumpers and make a lot of jumpers. That's where this league is. Does Victor, we all kind of envision the idea of Victor becoming Shaq-like, or I guess Yao-like, or like this interior presence, which he will more so as he gets bigger. But like, do you think that is that where the league is? Does he need to have this jump shot be the primary part of his game? Or does he need to be able to grow in? Because he's not a wide guy. He's still very slender.
Yeah.
What's like the future, do you think, for Victor and where his game needs to go?
I mean, you're going to need to shoot jump shots, but I think Victor's game is going to be that he does a little bit of it all. Like I think that, you know, he's going to do everything. He's going to be depending upon the game, depending on the matchup, and I think that's what makes Wemby so dangerous. I do disagree though when you said like Victor got 21 shots off, and the job of a defense is to, you know, force him not to shoot. But like, I think the job of defenses was force him to shoot ineffectively. 5 of 21, the defense did his job to me. And I think that's right now is the way that you want to guard Wemby, is force him into bad shots, force him into awkward shots, but eventually he's going to make those. But he needs to get stronger too. You need, like, Wemby's just too tall, too long, too athletic. He needs to be able to be in the paint and bang down low in the paint. Otherwise, what's the difference between him and Anthony Davis other than health?
I think it's actually, that's a really good question, right? It's like Davis smashes versus these smaller lineups when he's got a size advantage, which Victor does have a size advantage over everybody. But in terms of core strength, like, he just dominates over it. Davis kills those teams, but he struggles when he goes up against bigger guys. Like, that's why he never wants to play center. And I don't think there's any way you can have a long-term view of Victor as a power forward. I think he's going to have to play center. So I think a lot of this, honestly, though, is just Jaren. This is a weird comp because I know Jaren Jackson Jr. is not nearly as good of a player, but Jaren didn't have any go-to moves early in his career. He was just kind of like using his size and length and touch to try and find ways to score. And I was like, you got to figure out how to. Now he's done it when he gets to actually be involved in an offense, unlike this nonsense Tuamasi Salo is running in Memphis. He actually can produce stuff. Victor's just going to have to find that. It's probably going to be, I think, triple threat stuff from the nail, where it's like he gets the ball in the high post, at the pinch post or at the nail, faces up, and then you've got this threat of, if he drives on you, you're dead. If he shoots over you, you're dead, because it's like he's comfortable in that spot. He's got to find his spots and his go-tos. It can't be like him. It always feels to me like he's improving when he's dribbling. He's got to just refine that stuff. The problem with all this is just like, he will do this. And if he's healthy by the time that he's 27, you're dead. He's 40% from three already. When he puts this together, as long as he's healthy, you're dead. But I think these are the little refinements that you're going to have to see Victor Wembanyama make over the next 4 years.
The only thing I'll say about this is you look at the top 3 guys in the league right now: Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis. These guys get it done at the rim in the paint, and they let everybody else shoot the threes. They create threes for their teammates. Not to say that they don't shoot threes, right? You're seeing Shai and Jokic specifically take and make more threes as their careers go on, but their bread and butter is in the paint, and I think that's going to be the case for Victor Wembanyama. But obviously, his ability to do all these things is what makes him so special. So we'll see what happens. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.